Which is better, the one who manages or the one who leads? The main difference between leaders and managers is that leaders have people to follow them, while managers have people who work for them. A manager is an individual who is in charge of the employee or an organization, while a leader is an individual who possesses the ability to influence and inspire others towards accomplishment of goals. A manager's greatest accomplishment comes from making work processes more effective, whilst leaders help organizations and people to grow. Both are important, but naturally, leadership is slightly ahead of management because a well-balanced organization has a leadership at its base. But remember, a successful business owner needs to be both a strong leader and a capable manager to get their team on board to follow them towards their vision of success. Quality is one of the modern project constraints which leads project management processes and activities. That is why quality control experts depend heavily on the 7 tools to improve the quality. Let's go through the 7 quality control tools one by one. First, the cause and effect diagram, or also called the Fishbone Diagram. These are causal diagrams that shows the potential causes of a specific event. The head of the fish represents the effect, while the succeeding parts are its causes. Suppose we are facing a problem of high defect rate in the organization. Then, we brainstorm the broad categories which can lead to this problem, like people, machine, materials, or methods. Then, we classify all the possible causes which can lead to this factor. Thus, these causes can also be further divided. In the end, you get an image of root causes or reasons that potentially contribute to a particular effect. Second, stratification. Stratification is the process of dividing members of the population into homogeneous subgroups before sampling. An alternative representation of this is a flowchart, which is a type of diagram that represents a workflow or process. A flowchart can also be defined as a diagrammatic representation of an algorithm, a step-by-step approach to solving a task that has basically an input, a process, and lastly, an output. Third, check sheet. A check sheet is a form used to collect data in a systematic way. The data is generated as a rough means for assessing a process or as an input to other analysis. For example, you want to know various observations under various categories. You also want to know the frequency of those observations. Then you'll have the categories of the observations on one side and the frequency of occurrence on the other side. Fourth, histogram. A histogram is an appropriate representation of the distribution of numerical data. It works on the same principle on which check sheet works. The additional feature offered by the histogram is the graphical representation of the data. For example, the data collected in our check sheet can be represented by this histogram. Fifth, Pareto Chart. Pareto Chart is a type of chart that contains both bars and a line graph. It is where individual values are represented in descending order by bars, and the cumulative total is represented by the line above the bar. Its purpose is to assess the most frequently occurring defects by category. Sixth, control chart. Control charts or process behavior charts are a statistical process control tool used to determine if a manufacturing or business process is in a state of control. Based from previous observation of a process, you determine the acceptable highest and lowest frequency limit of the occurrence of an event. These limits are known as upper control limit and lower control limit, which in the middle you have the line showing the average. By plotting the current frequencies on the graph, you can understand whether a process is under control or out of control. Seventh, scatterplot. Scatterplot is a mathematical diagram using Cartesian coordinates to display values for typically two variables for a set of data. It is used to see whether there is a relationship between an independent variable and a dependent variable. For example, you want to know the correlation between the size of a project and the defect per size. Now, if you see that the defect per size is increasing with an increase in project size, you can conclude that there is a positive correlation between them. Between two variables, there can be a positive correlation, negative correlation, or there can be no correlation at all. So these are all the 7 quality control tools for efficient project management. What is Six Sigma? Six Sigma is a set of techniques and tools for process improvement. Six Sigma strategies seeks to define the process and the problem, measure the current performance, analyze the process for issues and root causes, improve through determining and implementing actions, lastly, control by maintaining the improved process.